Welcome. So thank you, everyone. I'm really mindful that you probably have I've seen the agenda and it looks wonderful. So I'm last on the agenda, I believe. So I hope you're all still sort of having a little bit of energy and you've had a really lovely day. So thank you so much. Feeling the love there with the heart. So thank you so much for having me. And I always feel that it's really, I feel really lucky to come and talk to forums like this because I do work in social care. We do absolutely overarch into the NHS and into working closely with nurses and GPs and consultants and everything. So I'm so passionate, as Alison said, about what I do at MacIntyre. So, and today we're just, this afternoon, just for a short period of time, we're just going to really blow the dust off that kind of thinking around being truly person-centered. And I've worked within social care for nearly 25 years, and I know sometimes that can feel like a bit like a buzzword. Do we do that really well, especially when we are supporting people with a learning disability and dementia, or a learning disability and potentially going down that pathway? And one of my jobs here at MacIntyre is to advocate for people to have, where possible and where we have faced those barriers, having that really truly person-centered care. So that's what we're going to be talking about for the next half an hour. I am on my own. If you go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit about me, but I think you've heard quite a lot about me already. Normally I am with my colleague Rosie. Rosie lives with dementia. I'm going to bring Rosie to life for you in a little while. Rosie can't be with me today because her dementia has really progressed over the last few months. So I'm doing my best today to bring her to life, but she would normally be sitting here, or we'd normally be together doing this. So that's really hard because you're all probably maybe in some way, shape or form impacted by how quickly dementia can take a person's and change their ability. But again, and I hopefully you'll really feel my energy through the screen, it's about what they still can do and how they can still participate and support. And I'm not going to say anything else about Rosie because I've got some slides to bring Rosie to life for you. And a lot of my work is around dementia apps, but also planning ahead for the future. So working closely with people to really think through what that future could look like. And we try and advocate at MacIntyre that we do that when people are well, and then we know we're doing our best for them where possible, with their choices and decisions if their capacity will change over time due to the dementia. So yes, let's move on and let's get started. And if you don't know who MacIntyre is a provider, a charity that supports a range of people, from children, young adults, young adults and older people. And we are supporting a much wider group of older people, hence the need for my job here at MacIntyre to make sure that staff, families and importantly the person feels really supported on their pathway of dementia. So if you click the next slide, that would be great. I think it's just that's fine. I did a few changes, but I think maybe you're using a different slide. It's absolutely fine. So let's get to know Rosie. So like I said, Rosie's normally with me, but these are Rosie's words, and I've just popped them on the slide. So some of you might have heard me speak in the past, public speak with Rosie. Rosie is somebody that is such an advocate for health. She's done so much public speaking in the past. She's worked at MacIntyre for about 25 plus years. She's just, if you follow our social media or you go onto our website, she's just celebrated her retirement, and we've done that to support Rosie in that transition of work finishing, but still huge amount of time and energy she spends with us as a health team, just in a different way now. So some of the things I know Rosie would want to say today if she was speaking: she's a friend. She's lived on her own for many years in her own bungalow, paying her own bills, working here at MacIntyre, but holding lots of other jobs. She's been supported by MacIntyre, and don't get me wrong, that's been quite blurred sometimes over the years for us to really say, but she's employed by MacIntyre. She's a member of our team as well. So when I work with Rosie, we are two employees and we're two friends, but and that's how it is. And she's really, really always respected that. as I have. She's a sister. She's got a really wide circle of family around her, and that's been integral recently to make sure we are really, really linking in with the family so that we know all the decisions that Rosie might be struggling with on a day-to-day basis now, that we're getting that right for her. Rosie's a classical pianist. Rosie plays beautiful, beautiful music. And again, I've been lucky to sit in her bungalow and listen to her play. She reads music, she can write music. She's wonderful. Such an intelligent lady. And I've said she's a colleague, she's a daughter, and that really important part that she's employed by MacIntyre. So if we go to the next slide, that would be lovely. Now, if Rosie says, and she says, it's not about what you can't do, it's what you can do. And Rosie's advocated that for years. Before she had dementia, she said she's been, and she just knows the importance, and she's recognized in the past where people do too much for somebody, and that comes from such a good place. We're all here today because we care, and we've got that special part in our makeup to do that. And sometimes we do that, and I think as long as we step back and we reflect and go, I probably overdid that, I overcompensated that there for that person. But that's all about reflection and growth for us. But Rosie would say it's not about what you can't do, it's about what you can do, and allow me still to do that. I might get it wrong. There might be bumps in the road. It might be that you might have to pick me up if I feel low because something has gone wrong. But let's think about that. Let's reflect together. And we're still absolutely doing that with Rosie. So yeah. We're going to play a film in a little while of Rosie, and you'll hear her say that, and that hopefully that really brings that to life for you. So if we go on to the next slide, this is where I think I might have, so I've done this part. So about MacIntyre, do go onto our website. We've got a special page on our website around dementia. It was about 10 years ago now, I was involved in something called our Dementia Project, and we had a lot of funded money that we could create resources. So we created a lot of information and resources that are freely available. So if anything you think of after, feel free to contact me. But there's stuff on there that you might find useful, things like our emotion cards, things like our signing cards. So where communication does change over time because of a diagnosis, it doesn't mean we can't give up trying to really tap into someone, how they might be feeling. So really do, when you've got a 5-minute tea break or something, jump on there and take a look. So we'll go to the next slide. And at MacIntyre, we have what we call our DNA, and I'm sure where you work or connection with other social care providers, everyone has what we are proud of and what we keeps us coming into work every day. And why I've shared our DNA on more of an external platform is just so you can get an idea of how we think and how we operate within MacIntyre, but how this is linked to me in my everyday world around dementia. So we are ambitious for ourselves and others. So when someone has a suspicion of dementia or there's a new diagnosis, I think you might have felt that from me already this afternoon, we don't give up. We continue to go, okay, now what? How can we now shift our mindset to still enable that person? And we'll talk about Rosie, Rosie to still live a life that is meaningful and makes sense to her. And that takes a lot of consistency and drive from staff and families, because it's something that we need to, right till the end of somebody's life, still be ambitious for that person. Everyone has a voice and is listened to. Now that changes, and that people with dementia might lose their words completely. They're still vocalized in some way. It's tapping into that and recognizing what that means and how that will look for somebody. So not just giving up and saying all the kind things, saying all the things that but actually how can we still tap into that person? And this, again, talking about resources, talking maths, books beyond words, things that we advocate at MacIntyre that are really, really good resources to use with someone living with a learning disability, but also dementia. We keep on learning. I've learned so much from Rosie over the years. She's pulled me up on a lot of things that I've got wrong, that's teamwork. There's no difference of a level of ability in our team. We all learn and reflect together. We want equality. Everyone feels safe and in control, and we value friends and family and neighbourhood. So it's that just that whole encompassing everything, but we're talking about person-centered care, having Rosie in the middle of that vision, and how then we adapt our approach over the years. And that's looked very different for Rosie from back in 25 years ago to the present day. So if we move on, that would be great. Okay, brilliant. So I've popped on here person-centered approaches. It's how we support the person to be heard, keeping the person at the center of their care is so important. But it can, it can easily get a little bit muddled, but it's been reflective and recognizing that. And yeah, apologies if I keep going over the same things, but it's important. We all forget sometimes, and so I'm going to show you a few things that to consider now if we move on to the next slide around person-centered approaches. So ways that we can still work with a person that has a diagnosis or a suspected diagnosis of dementia. So I put on here, it's quite word heavy, so apologies, but it's something that you might get to keep the slides after. So it's all around getting to know the person. So it might be that you're in your field of work, you're getting to know someone that you haven't had a relationship for many, many years. It might be someone brand new. You're going in to provide some kind of support, and you really need to get to know them. And it's just finding out what is important to them around their present day, but also in their future, around routines, trying new skills and new opportunities as well. And again, it's all around that adapting and being brave and ambitious for that person, but not feeling you're failing as a member of the team or staff. So I always say, I might not be the best person to support Rosie today because it's just not that kind of day. It might be someone else, and then it's not taking that personally, and it's being thinking that's a real team approach, and being honest where you need to pull into that support. And so I've got in the middle here, working in ways that make sense to each person. We talk, you're a skilled bunch of people this afternoon, but the environment is so important, and I'm such an advocate for thinking about the environment at such an early stage when there's a diagnosis of dementia, because we want that person to stay present in their environment. That we know the last thing that we want is for that person to potentially have to move away, and sometimes that is completely out of our control. But actually, if we make those small subtle changes, ideally when the person can contribute and understand that, it might just make their home or their place of work or visiting a family home that little bit more easier for them, safer for them. So it's really thinking about the environment. There's a wonderful tool out there. It comes under the Worcester University. It's an assessment tool, which is wonderful to just go in with fresh eyes to make sure that you really, because we all get a little bit, in our own environment, you think, okay, everything feels good here. But when you've got something to actually go through in a methodical way, that helps. As well. It's all around trust as well. I've mentioned revisiting and reflecting, and taking those small steps together, and expecting wobbles in the road, but that's okay as well. And then just going down to knowing the person and as well is so important. And I'm going to show you some person-centered thinking tools that you might all be aware of, but I thought it'd be nice to just blow the dust off those. So if you go to the next slide, I've just shared some on that we use at MacIntyre, that apps, they work these are wonderful resources if you use them well and keep them fresh, and don't just use them as a bit of a tick box and then file them away, because then they become not useful at all. So holding on to Rosie as an example here, Rosie's person-centered thinking tools that her staff team use need to be looked at quite frequently now, because Rosie's changing. So we need to know, are all the things that allow Rosie to have a good day and a bad day, have we got that right, so that her wider circle understand that, especially if she is in people's company that she doesn't maybe know that well, so that they feel skilled to know, okay, Rosie might not have a good day if I follow all of this, but at least we're trying, and at least we're recognizing that. So we've got the good day, bad day person-centered thinking tool. If you look at Google, you will find an example of all of these. These are just ways that we maybe have adapted them. The one-page profile, getting to know me, that is such a powerful thinking tool, because it just brings to life Rosie in a real nutshell for somebody that could be could be working with Rosie or supporting Rosie that just needs that quick overview of what she what's Rosie, what makes Rosie who she is. I've put on here as well the 4+1. That's a really good reflective tool to really think about individually. So you might just use that as a you reflecting, but what have you done, what have you learned, what are you pleased about, what are you concerned about, and what next? And that I've always, as a manager, I've used that in a lot of team meetings to say, especially when I maybe notice that Rosie might be having a few not so great days, or I hear trickle of conversation within the team, and it would be very much, let's grab one of these. And once we've done that, it really does tend to open up some real honest reflection because that can be scary for staff as well, to think that they might be thinking they're going to get in trouble because things are going so wrong, but that's just out of control, because that could be the dementia. And so it's lots to consider there. We put the important to and important for. What's important for Rosie to have a good life, but what do we need to do to enable that? So it's and they do help you think those through. And then we've just got some other examples on there as well that you can find. Again, you can contact me if there's one of them that you really like. We have branded a lot of them to make them feel softer and more engaging. Same content, but you might want to use our ones because they're a little bit more engaging, but that's completely up to you if you choose to go down that road. And just not forgetting as well around person-centered approaches, life story. It's something that we advocate at MacIntyre, that we do from such a young age, not just when someone's getting older, or we anticipate that something could be happening or changing. So life story is so useful for a person once they are living with dementia. We've got a lovely example on our website of where we've done a life story piece of work with a gentleman called Barry, and Barry had a This Is Your Life life story book, just like that big red book that many of us probably remember back from the 80s, but that worked for him. But life story can take form in so many different ways. It's not just a memory box, it's not, it's getting to know that person, and there's some wonderful information out there around life story. So let's move on. This is the one page. This is our one-page profile, and again, it's that real strong message on here is don't forget to regularly review it, because that's important, because we could be getting things wrong because we're following a out-of-date version. So and I've seen so many one-page profiles where they haven't maybe got a photograph of the person and things like that. So really just think about that process. I always say, if you're creating a one-page profile on behalf of someone, create one for yourself and create one for get your team involved as well, because I always think once you've done a process, you'll think, if the information was wrong on there for you, and how would that make you feel? You'd think, maybe feel a bit undervalued, or you'd think, oh, no one really cares, it just feels so you'd want as much rich information about that if I was going to be spending the day with you, for example. And we've also got them for families at MacIntyre, getting to know, and the questions are slightly different on our one-page family profiles, but they're still there for us to say, we are supporting your loved one, but we're interested in your world, and we're interested in your history. So, and they've really, really been greatly received by families. It's just that, MacIntyre do actually want to know more, and this isn't necessary, but they're wanting to know more. They're curious, especially around history as well, so that we can pull that into life story as well if the families are happy with that. So that's really important. Okay, so if we move on, and this is a film of Rosie, and I really hope it works, tech works and everything. It's quite short, but it just brings Rosie to life a little bit. So if I'll stop talking to see if this works.
Do I need the next slide?
Oh, so sorry, Carol, if you hover over it, is there not a bar at the bottom that you're getting there? Sorry.
I might need to. Can you hear it?
No.
Bear with me.
Okay, that's okay.
Rachel and Nikki. This year, I was diagnosed with dementia. This was confirmed but by my GP. In my mind, I have not had it until now. I am still trying to get used to it. It is new to me. I can still live well, as well as leading a normal life. Even though I have Down syndrome, it doesn't affect who I am. Even with me having dementia, it does not affect who I am. Using different ways of releasing your emotions. For example, maybe using a mix of tapes or CDs to relax to. By doing relaxing techniques, it helps a person to unwind. It's important for me to stay positive and to focus on the things that you can still do. You can also consider installing a specialist dementia clock. I find mine really helpful. It is how you deal with it when you get the diagnosis and preparing for a person for the outcome. And by talking about it, it really does help so that you can feel relaxed. It is okay to feel emotional at times. It has made me more determined to carry on working within the project and to continue the work that we're doing. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story. I hope that you will come to share my journey to the next chapter of my life as I continue to move forward.
Okay. That's just, I'm seeing all the hearts come up and it makes me feel really emotional because Rosie has, her dementia has really, really progressed over the last few months. That film we only captured that with Rosie. It was about 6 months ago. Rosie wouldn't be able to do that now. That's how quickly her dementia is progressing. But she still is living a good life. We run a memory cafe at Milton Keynes. I oversee that. I saw her a couple of weeks ago there, and she's there. She just our relationship's not changed, and it does impact the people that are around that person because you're seeing a dramatic change. Rosie's safe, Rosie's secure. She's now living in still within MacIntyre, but she's moved across the road. She's moved across the road to be in company. She was lonely. She managed to tell us she was lonely, so we could pick that up really quickly and we advocated to say, we all know loneliness can make mental health much more compromised. We know loneliness can really, really impact someone living with dementia. So that happened, that change happened for her. She's got company now. Where before we kept thinking, and that was really good. That's a really good example actually to share with you. We were advocating to keep Rosie at home in her bungalow, but actually once we really sat and thought about it, her moving across the road was better for her and she's happier now. But we struggled with that transition more than her because we didn't want her to lose her independence, but she's still got her independence, but in a much safer way. So one thing I'd like to ask you, again, if Rosie had been here with me, she would have gone, and what do you think of that? And then she would have loved the hearts and the applause and everything from the virtual support. But has anyone got any questions that are popping into your mind that you would ask Rosie if she was on this platform this afternoon? There's no pressure, but I could do my best from her as a sidekick to maybe answer a couple of them if anyone does want to come off mute and ask a question, but no pressure. I just thought I'd give opportunity. If you move to the next slide, it just says, what questions would you ask Rosie? If there is any. I'll just give a second just to allow for that. So.
I'm not sure if any. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Jay.
yeah.
Yes.
just to very quickly see from the perspective of the learning disability service user, because I practice in psychiatry in learning disabilities. I was just curious to know what would Rosie like to do for holidays? What things she would enjoy doing, and what are the things that she would now take up as something which she likes. She is playing music so well, and she is doing sight reading at a much better level than me. And
Oh no,
so,
that's lovely.
like say for example, you could give her maybe she wouldn't know to attend a Royal Opera House or a big symphony in the Birmingham Symphony Hall, or for that matter, even going on holiday outside, inside the UK or outside the UK. These are some things which are very person-centered and very useful.
Yeah, no, oh no, and she'd love that. So Rosie, all the years I've known Rosie, she always did something called door-to-door holidays, where it was all, all packaged and safe, and someone would come and like a escort would, and then she'd go on holiday, be very independent. That's changed recently, and Rosie loves cruising. She's a lady of very, yeah, she likes the nice things in life, and she's still cruising. She's got a cruise book this year. It's just about how we safely support her to continue to do that. I think a few of those pictures that you saw there going through that little montage was of Rosie on some of her cruises. She went on one late last year. Regards the music and things, that is so important to Rosie. Music is Rosie's life as well. And it's just, again, us as her circle knowing those things, we're not just guessing she might like this. So she absolutely loves going to listen to live classical music. She loves going to the theatre. So it's just still enabling her to do that, just allowing more time, maybe more staff if that's something, and not being shy to think that it's not safe. It's just how we continue to allow to keep that safe and for her. But no, she's a cruiser. She likes going on her cruises. Thank you for that question. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Okay. Shall I move on? Because I'm a bit mindful of time. Yeah, I see a nod. Okay. So things that help me, Rosie, to live well. She did talk about them, some of those on that film. Her routine, and that's still super important for Rosie. It's changed, but it's still important. Knowing we used what's helping Rosie is now a next board. So that's so simple but so powerful. So she knows, for that example, we've got the memory cafe at 10 o'clock, and then it's back to the house, then it's lunch. And she quite finds that picture support, visual picture support, quite useful. You could never rush Rosie, but do not rush Rosie. That would just set her up to fail. So really, but it not just, just in my body language as well, just being calm and at her pace, at her level. I'm not arching over her. It's all around body language, and my interactions are so important. So there's that no power dynamic. We're equal. We're sitting. We're doing things at her pace as well. Being kind, that's something Rosie would absolutely say if she was here today. Being kind to me, and I'll be kind to you as well. And we hope that's just something we all would not even have to doubt and think about. Do things with me, involve me. Someone now living with dementia, what I find with Rosie is she needs, I would never it's giving her something that doesn't feel patronizing. So giving her meaningful occupation, giving her something that I know she loves. When she's here, I'm at the office today. If she's at the office, she loves filing and laminating and hole punching. Even if those things don't really have a meaning or an outcome, that we don't need anything laminating, let's find something to laminate, because that's going to bring her some pleasure. So it's just being creative, those rummage boxes of things that she would find enjoyable, just making it really Rosie, and think about what she would like, and I think that's really important. Being encouraging as well. So Rosie and others, you're going to be aware when you've made a mistake, or you're going to, and that feelings, that mistake or that memory of that mistake might disappear, but that feeling will stay with Rosie. So we have to be encouraging and move on from that. And you know, and we that whole distraction, but be mindful that feeling will stay with Rosie. So if her day seems a little bit triggered by that, you know, we might go, well, she wouldn't remember, but that feeling will stay with her. So it's just being respectful that she might have had a bad morning. She might not remember what that bad morning had, what made it a bad morning, but that feeling of that, anxiety or sadness might still be quite prominent in her mind. Seeing friends and family, going on holidays, like we've just mentioned, trying new things, having fun and being part of conversations and decisions. I know she's still having music lessons. I know her music teacher still comes to see her every other week. I don't know what that support looks like, but I know it wouldn't be the same as what it was a year ago, but she's still having music lessons. Even if she's listening to I'm guessing maybe listening to the teacher playing or sitting at the piano, touching the keys, seeing the music, being part of that. She might not be able to play like she did, but she, so it's everything's still worth it, as long as it's bringing some kind of pleasure. Okay, let's move on. Okay, just some things here. I know I probably touched upon some of them, but advocating for the person. Rosie now will need support going to the GP, where before she wouldn't have done. She did all that independently. She'd take her notebook and she'd come back and she'd tell us what had gone on in her appointment. She needs someone by her side now, but it's very much, talk to Rosie still. She might not be able to absorb everything, but it's that respect in the room still. And then I'm there as her second set of ears. But redirect, don't be afraid to redirect and say, this is Rosie's appointment. If that feels comfortable to do that. We talk about reasonable adjustments a lot at MacIntyre. So right now, it might be that going into a busy doctor's surgery at 2 o'clock in an afternoon is going to feel overwhelming. So as a reasonable adjustment, and if that's possible, I'm going to ask for a later appointment in the day, because that's going to work for Rosie better. A reasonable adjustment is 10 minutes isn't going to be enough anymore. I'm going to ask for a double appointment. But I also know reality, I hear that commonly across MacIntyre, but they don't always get, the request doesn't always happen, but be aware that you can ask for these reasonable adjustments as well. Health recording. When Rosie was showing subtle signs, because Rosie's very educated and can speak beautifully and write beautifully, her signs were very subtle, but we use something at MacIntyre called the Anticipatory Health Calendar, which is an NHS resource, but it allows us to evidence those subtle changes. So when sometimes we see something, as you probably are all aware, as you can see on the left, diagnostic overshadowing, it's just Rosie's learning disability. It's just her age. It's not just. This isn't nothing to do with her learning disability. This is something different. And the health calendar will be that evidence that you can take and say, for the last 3 months, Rosie's sleep has been so disturbed, her mobility has been compromised, or her eating and drinking has changed, or her behaviour feels compromised. So if you're not aware of the anticipatory care calendar, it's wonderful. But there's other things out there now, like Nourish and other digital platforms that I know a lot of social care are using, but that's one that I really advocate here on the screen. And not, it's so important not to forget the circle around the person. All our energy and passion goes to the person that's really compromised at that time, but it's the friends around that person. And in MacIntyre, a lot of people live together in shared homes, and sometimes we forget about that wider circle to say these changes are happening, this is why. And I know I alluded earlier to the Books Beyond Words and the resources to help the friendship circle of Rosie or others to say she's not just being awkward, or she's not just being grumpy. This is dementia. And one of the Books Beyond Words is all around Anne has dementia, and it's a lovely way to not put words into people's mouths and just have that conversation, but allow it to be completely organic and grown by that group of people. I've made mistakes in the past where I haven't liaised with the wider circle. I did it once. and I'd never do it again because I felt so terrible. We'd put some accessible images around the house that everyone lived in. We didn't talk to the other people to say, when you come home from work, there might be some pictures on the kitchen cupboards to help this person be able to still be independent in the kitchen. And it got all very confusing and people got very cross. And I thought all I needed to have done is sit and talk to this group of people. And once I did, it all was fine. I learned a lesson. That was many years ago. I haven't forgotten that. So reflective and not avoiding is so important. So next slide, we're coming to an end. I just wanted a little bit more. So supporting the person, I think we probably have covered a lot of this. Don't ever stop being that person's champion. It might feel hard. It might feel that you've got a lot of barriers that you face, but continue to be that champion, but continue to be human from your perspective. It's a hard time to, especially if you're supporting someone, more on a day-to-day basis, be honest with how it's impacting you as well, and call for help. It doesn't just because you're that person's link worker or their one-to-one. It takes its toll because it impacts you as well. Keeping the person at the centre, that buzzword, but really think about the things I've spoken about earlier on. Respond in a timely way, using that really in-depth health recording to help with what we see as a timely diagnosis. We know a diagnosis of dementia is tricky for anybody, but it becomes much more compromising for a person with a learning disability. Support choice, control and independence, and be creative and be reflective on that, and pull for help. Try something. If it doesn't work, try it again. I hear a lot that we tried that. Have you tried it again? No, we know they won't like it. It's a lot of assumptions there. Maybe it was the wrong time of day. Maybe I wasn't the right person to do that. Don't take that personally either. What if it was me? We talked openly a lot around putting myself in that person's shoes. Think about that content that you're putting into a one-page profile. Think about, that rushing around time, how that could make that person feel a bit anxious. What if it was me? What if it was my loved one? How would I want that support and that to look like? Just that right side-by-side support, not doing too much. It's difficult. We all do it. I still do it sometimes, I go make that cup of tea for Rosie because it's quicker, but I know she still can go make that cup of tea. I just might need to be slower. I might need to get the tea caddy down. I might need to direct her to where the tea bag is, but she can still make that cup of tea. Explain and reassure, really acknowledge feelings and don't just say it's okay, because it's not. And we need to be able to still sit and explain in a safe way to that person, validating how they're feeling. So important. So just the last couple of things I was going to share is our top 10 list that we've created at MacIntyre. If you do the next slide, again, I can ping this over. I can share it with Carol or Alison. It just allows you. We hear quite commonly that staff feel quite exhausted. They've tried everything. We've tried everything, and you think, okay, you might well have done, but this allows you to revisit. And create. But so what's my favorite music, my favorite food, a TV show, a film? We've purposely created one with blanks as well, and it could be just something that you've got in a box in someone's home, maybe laminated or not laminated, with some of the things that you'd need. So it might be some earphones for Rosie and a few of her favorite classical CDs. It might be a DVD of her favorite Sound of Music. She loves musicals. It might be a recipe, an easy accessible recipe that we can go and make some, I don't know, some brownies together in the kitchen, any fidget toys, podcasts, anything like that. These have been really, really helpful for anybody living with dementia or not, because it just allows staff to go, we've got a nice chain here that we can go through. But I love the fact that we've got a blank one as well, because that could be really personalised. So I can send this to you if that would be helpful. And then just moving on, just a few resources. Next slide of support that I've shared some of it, but we've got Anne Has Dementia on this slide. How to talk about dementia UK resources. If you click a couple of times, Carol, it'll take you. That's it. Reading Well for Dementia, Learning Disability and Dementia. That we created that for Dementia UK. So that was in collaboration with us. Hello, my name is Vince. It's such a basic resource we create with people with dementia at MacIntyre many years ago, but it's still so helpful. Hello, this is Vince. Vince is a character character that isn't real, but it's nice to talk about Vince. And there's a series of those of why I'm changing. This is my dementia. So there's just a couple of resources there that you might already be aware of. And if you click to the next slide, it's our memory cafe dates. Again, these are all on our website. We've been running this cafe for 10 years next year. It's a consistent safe space for people from the community and from MacIntyre to attend. And it's, we do so many different things. It's led by the people that attend it. I'm a very strong believer of, this is your cafe, what do you want? And they keep coming back, so we must be doing something right. We also have an admiral nurse that attends so that we've got that more clinical support. I've got stuff in my mind, but I'm not a nurse, so it's lovely to have an admiral nurse there when family are feeling a crisis maybe, or just a little bit, this is hard, this is reality, this is tricky. Importantly, I'd love for you, if you move on to the next slide, we've got our dementia special interest group. Some of you might have been attending this in the past. The little QR code there that you, hopefully, fingers crossed, it would take you to the website. It's free. We run it twice a year, and it's 3 hours online now. It used to be face to face, but it's online, and we collaborate externally. So we have Dementia UK. We have Beth Britton, our consultant, who's wonderful. If you've never met Beth, talking about dementia and learning disability. So do sign up if you're interested. Our next one's October, so you'll be really early. But we've already got a lot of sign up, which is just wonderful. But it's free, so do spread the word there as well. I'd really appreciate that. That's a really lovely platform for us to collaborate with you as well. And if there's anything amazing that you do and you think, oh, I'd love to shout about that, let me know and we can put you on the agenda. So, and lastly, next slide is that we're doing a lot of work at the moment around end of life care, linked to dementia, but just in a broader sense. And there's a picture there of me, Beth, who I spoke about on the right, and Jess Hiles. Jess is a lady that we support at MacIntyre, but she's also employed, and we've done some award-winning work on loss and bereavement, and we won 2 awards last year, which we were really shocked about. So that's in collaboration with ARC England. Thank you very much for that applause. I can see that. Really proud. Jess, I do a lot of work like I do with Rosie, and Jess is one of my wonderful people that I do the loss and bereavement workshops with. So again, you can go onto the ARC England website and sign up. There is a cost to that. If you're a member, it's a little bit cheaper, but there is a cost to that. And that's me, Carol and Alison, in a nutshell. I've allowed a little bit of time, or maybe a minute or so, for questions, but thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nicola. Thank you. That was absolutely great. It was really lovely to hear Rosie's voice. Shame she couldn't be with us, and obviously we're really sad to hear about, things progressing for her. But at least she's, in an environment with people around her that care and understand. So we're pleased for her. I think there were some comments in the chat around, yes, we would like a copy of the form that you said. So I think that was the
Top 10 list.
Yes, yeah, that would be lovely. If you send it to Carol, then perhaps Carol can send it out when she sends the slides, if that's all right, Carol. Hopefully she'll give me a nod in a minute. Thank you.